Welcome everyone, it's Michael Dehaan and I've got today with me Kathy Ashton. How are you, Kathy?
Very well, thank you, Michael.
So a part of the Women's Empowerment series, which I suppose a lot of people know that it's one of my passions, empowering women. I had a meeting with Kathy the other day. I was referred to Kathy by Julie Bowden, who I know quite well, and she knows my passion and mission around being of service to women and empowering women. And when I sat down with you, Kathy, and it was only a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I said, I've just got to get you on this series. And I'll share with you the reason in a sense there. But first, I'd just like to, I suppose, get to know you a little bit. I know you're a chronic illness expert. The business is Flourish Live Naturally.
So Flourish, live naturally.
Live naturally, thank you.
Everybody calls it that, so that's right. Flourish, live naturally.
But what really caught my eye, because it resonates very closely with me, is that what you shared on LinkedIn, which is, and I'm going to read it to make sure I get it right. So it's taking people from feeling helpless, especially if they feel sick inside, as an example, to feeling empowered and in control of their lives. And that really resonated with me. It had energy, shows your passion, and that, in a sense, shows your mission. So I really gravitated towards that.
Thank you.
What I thought we might just do, Bud, is just to get to know you a little bit more, and then we can go through some questions there. But how did you get on that pathway of the career, or what did that look like?
Yeah, no, I got into this as, especially into the health space, as many do when we have our own wake up call.
Yeah.
And you stumble along in life, and the next thing you know, you come up against a brick wall. And my husband was diagnosed with with multiple sclerosis back in 2003.
Yeah.
So he had a very busy corporate life, very high-powered job, and just working all the time. And then we got hit with this big wall, and we were pretty much told by Western medicine that there was nothing much they could do, and that he should just go away and live his life and hope for the best, because no one knew what his journey was going to be, which is kind of what we did for quite some time. Until we kept on hitting and these, finding more boulders to step over or around, or landmines, or whatever you want to call them. And then we went down sort of that Western medicine sort of rabbit hole of drugs and all of these sorts of things. And we also went down into lots of pharmaceutical supplements. At one stage, he was costing us $1,300 a month. Wow. Which kind of meant that I needed to divorce him because he was costing me an arm and a leg, spending the children's inheritance.
Yes.
So we thought that I quite liked the fellow, so I thought we better keep him around a bit longer. And what else could we do? And because I'd had my own health concerns, being fibromyalgia, and in my 30s, and being able to go down and change my life as far as my nutrition was concerned, and the way in which I did food and the sort of diet that I had, which was very healthy at the time, but it was sort of too much full of things that didn't work with fibromyalgia. Chris said to me, why don't you go back to university and study nutritional medicine, which is what I did.
Wow.
So yeah, that's kind of what led us down this particular pathway. And it's actually ended up being my absolute and utter passion. I love it. I was born to help people.
Yeah.
And to empower people not to feel hopeless and helpless, because when you are given a diagnosis, you will often feel hopeless and helpless, and you don't know what the future is going to do or what the future is going to bring. So you tend to project and catastrophize. And when with my husband, he had a busy, very, very busy company. What was he going to do, and where was it all going to lead? So, got a whole lot of other stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
So let it down here.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know we spoke about, what it resonated with me in regard to that, being in that flight or fight mode there, either being a busy businesswoman, being in corporate, being a busy mum. And why it resonated with me, I was in flight or fight for, I'm going to say 15 years without even really knowing it. And again, I got quite sick. We spoke about going down that sort of anxiety, depression and cancer. And I didn't really realize I was reaching out, but not maybe getting the right support, or didn't really know who to reach out to. And you sort of accept your lot.
Yeah, exactly. But chronic flight or flight, so chronic stress, stress is a good thing.
Yes.
We're born for stress, and we've got a stress mechanism. We've get, cortisol is one of the hormones, and it's survival, and the brain is very much designed as its first port of call for things to hit that amygdala and give you survival. We need it. It's really, really important. But what's happening today is that we are chronically staying in that. We're never getting away from it and relaxing and de-stressing and allowing ourselves to stop, because when we stop, we repair. And if we don't stop, then it keeps going. And then cortisol, one of the side effects of cortisol as a sort of as a collateral damage to lots and lots and lots of cortisol, the stress hormone being around, is inflammation.
Yeah.
So when we get lots of inflammation is the driver of all disease processes. It down-regulates thyroid hormones, or the ability of the body to convert T4, which is an inactive thyroid hormone, into an active thyroid hormone, which is T3. It's called 5-deiodinase. If inflammation is present, that's down-regulated. If it's down-regulated, what happens is you're not getting thyroid hormones. So now you're feeling really tired and exhausted and foggy-brained, and your hair's falling out. And as for females in that fight or flight situation, they'll find that they're putting on weight. Nothing's changed in my life, but suddenly I've got all this weight sitting around my middle. Where has that come from?
Yeah. And
I can't lose it. And no matter how much I exercise, I can't lose it. So what's going on? And then for when inflammation is present, the hormones that allow us to burn fat are down-regulated.
Yes. Yes.
So we're all putting on weight, right? The moment we're stressed.
Yeah. When
we're in fight or flight, and that high stress, that high cortisol, we lose the ability to self-manage ourselves. Yep. We lose the ability to take control of our emotions and what we're going through. So now we're biting everybody's heads off and no one likes us.
Is this a gradual thing, but Kathy, in regard to, as I said, that sort of cortisol and you're slowly putting on weight and slowly brain fog, so you'll go to your doctor as an example and they'll just go, we're just too busy at work, or it's more submissive.
Well, yeah, it is gradual. So there's that gradual, NQR. I'm not quite right, but I don't know what it is. Yeah. So I'm going to go to the doctors and I'm just going to speak to them and go, not quite right. So they take a whole lot of blood tests. Those blood tests are completely normal or within the range. Yes. They might be towards the low end of the range. They might be towards the high end of the range, but they're in the range. And it's not until you fall outside the range, which is when you're completely not quite right, completely NQR'd, but with a little F in there. So what happens then is that then by now you've developed a nice little autoimmune condition, or you've developed a cancer, or you've developed something that they can diagnose. And it's very quiet and very, your body starts off in whispers. And then slowly after time, it speaks a little bit more loudly. And that's when you go to the first doctor. And then it speaks a little bit more loudly again. Then you find yourself at the second, and then a specialist. And lo and behold, with some nasty little autoimmune condition.
Yes, yeah. And I suppose and talking to a lot of women that I've interviewed, and they're in the corporate world or run their own business, and I've seen a lot of them go, I went down the pathway of adopting different traits because I thought I had to go up the corporate ladder, but I had burnout. So I was just that stressed that I left because I didn't think I had another option. Yeah. So, and then once they understood their own traits, which are powerful and amazing as true women, then they had the energy inside and they had the power within, and it seemed to give them that energy, and they were a lot healthier, a lot happier. So is that something that can organically happen?
Yeah, they're the blessings, aren't they? They are the blessings when you actually do get the wake-up call and you actually do start to listen and you think, oh, you know what, maybe this isn't the right environment for me. Yeah. And I feel so crook that I need to get out of this. And then once you're out and you're away from that really high stress, away from being attacked by the saber-tooth saber-toothed tiger every day.
Yeah.
You can sit back and go, okay, I need to reflect. I need time. And then that allows us then to realize what it's been all about. And if you're lucky enough to be able to get on top of it, then you can go learn the lessons that are associated with it. And the lessons are obviously, hey, you need to find a voice. You need to speak up. You need to not let this happen anymore.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're the blessings. They are the blessings. Anybody who's ever been down this road, even the cancer road, there are silver linings to it. You just need to be able to learn them and find them and then appreciate them and then change.
Yes.
And the biggest issue that we've all got when in my work, what I do is, so most people who come to see me have had that wake up call.
Yeah.
And they've gone, oh, and they don't want to go down or they've tried the Western medicine model and food has never been discussed. So they come to me and they go, okay, so what do I need to change with my diet to allow the body to heal? I mean, the best kept secret by Western medicine is the fact that the body will heal by itself if you give it the right conditions and the right environment. Right. So if you just leave it alone, it'll do the healing, but you got to help it a little bit. So once you help it and you give it the right conditions, and that is relaxation and no stress and good food and all of those sorts of things, then the gut microbiome can start flourishing. And one of its major roles is to treat your immune system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if it's going to treat the immune system to be regulated or regulating the immune system so it doesn't go berserk, these are really important things. So it's nice to be able to do that. So, when they come to see me, one of the big things that we've got to do is I've got to renovate their diet. I've got to get them to change.
Yeah.
And if you've been on that corporate ladder, I've got to do this and climb the next and this and this and this and this and this and this and and you're in a male, especially if you're a female in a very male dominant area, right? It's I've got to keep up. I've got to do this. I've got to be seen to be as good as they are, and all of these sorts of things. And then when you fall off the wagon and you end up going, I've got to do this differently. Now we've got the ideas of I've got to change. And change is one of the hardest and most scary things because we're going to put you into the unknown. Because even though you're stressed, it is a known. I know how I cope with it. I know what I do. I know how to cope with stress in whatever way that is for you. But when we were asking you to change, you no longer know. So you're stepping into the void.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? I'm going to forget exactly what he said, but I had a meeting. It was men's mental health last week, and I was on a panel. And one of the panelists said they feel a lot safer when they got a lot of, I'm going to call it shit, a lot of shit going on in their life. So they'll create that. There's a certain safety to that. And when I listened to it, it didn't make any sense. But when I breathed into it, I went, well, that makes perfect sense. Because that's what he knows.
Yes.
He doesn't know peace. He doesn't know when everything's running smoothly.
No. We don't know how to handle that. We don't know how to not be stressed. We don't know what life looks like. And exactly what you're saying, the most important thing is, am I going to be safe?
Yes.
So lots of people who create the drama because it is known, and it'll be known as a known program that comes from their early childhood.
Yeah.
So when you go back and delve into it now, so what I'm dealing with and what I do a lot with the work that I do, even the food side of it's easy. I can tell you what to do and how to do it. And this is what you eat. And this is what you don't eat. And I can give it all to you. But the psychology side of it is so hard.
Yeah.
And asking people around, especially around food and their relationship with food, because often we use food because it feeds straight up into a lot of the foods and the junk foods and the foods that make us sick, feed straight up into our dopamine receptors. So it makes us feel good.
Yep.
So we're going to go down that road. Now what I'm going to do is take all that away and go, you know what, that's your junk food. That's feeding your autoimmunity, your rheumatoid arthritis, or your fibromyalgia, or your MS, or we've got to stop eating all of that.
Yeah.
And now it's like, whoa, now you want to sort of, I often talk about it as the Hillary step on Mount Everest.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? You're in the death zone.
Yeah.
In that death zone. And what are you going to do? Are you going to continue up and to actually summit? and find the end of the world, or find heaven, whatever you want to call it? Or are you going to actually, die up there and not be able to turn around and everything else that they do?
Yeah. It's interesting because, I mean, you talk about before how they're brought up, and generally it's from 0 to 7 or when they're quite young, and they've got created strong programming, strong habits. So, and I can imagine, I see a lot of people, because I deal with money in the same situation, and I see a lot of people just give up. So they're saying, "Oh, I'll change this habit. I'll give it a week.
Yeah.
I'll give it 2 weeks, and then if it hasn't changed, I'm just going back." Like, it's obviously whatever I've got inside me is too powerful.
Yeah.
So, and I can imagine you going through the same thing where they've just got to stay true for long enough to change that habit, and then they see the changes in their life, the changes in their health. And
I hear that all the time. I actually heard it today from a patient who's got some blood results back, and they're not as good as we wanted. And one of the comments was, why am I bothering?
Yes.
Can't I just go back to eating everything that I like, that I'm semi-missing?
Yes.
I'm missing all of the junk food, if you like. So I'm missing all of these foods that you've told me are bad for my disease process. So, but the bloods aren't as good as I wanted them to be straight away.
Yes. Yes.
So what's the use?
Yeah.
And that's a big, I hear that all the time from everybody. My pain hasn't stopped after 2 weeks. Well, how long have you been in pain for? Well, I've been in pain for, 10 years. Okay, and you want it to stop in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Great. What medications are you on? And they're talking about all of these massive pain medications, Ndep and methotrexate, or, tramadol, and I take 6 a day. And okay, and you just want a tiny change in your diet to actually fix it? No problem.
Yeah. That you can click your fingers.
My kids might think I'm a witch, but in actual fact, I haven't got a magic wand.
So, what sort of advice or what tips would you give young women coming into the corporate world to not, in a sense, because I speak with a lot of women, and thyroid seems to come up a lot.
Yeah.
That are a bit older, sort of being corporate, run their own business, or being mums and just being really busy. And that's
thyroid's huge. Thyroid is one of the biggest and growing issues, especially in the younger generation. So here's the thing about thyroid. When it is biochemically a natural process that when we are stressed, our brain is going to send a message down to the pituitary. So the brain, if you think about the brain as being the boss, the computer, and it sends a message down to the pituitary gland. And if you think about him as being the worker bee, he's going to then send these messages to various places in the body to be able to get what we need. So when we're stressed, the brain, instead of going hypothalamus, pituitary, and then down to the thyroid to make thyroid hormones to give us metabolism and energy, what it does is it goes, oh, we don't quite need that at the moment. What we need is cortisol. So let's send the message, instead of going HPT, let's go HPA over to the adrenal glands and send all the messages over there, because what we need right at the moment is stress hormones, because she's obviously being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. So we've got to run. So all of these things happen. So when we then get this feeling of not quite right, we will then go to the doctors, and if what we will see on a blood test is we will see low thyroid function, which is what you should see, because we've got high cortisol, high adrenal function. So when cortisol levels are high, thyroid function is low, and that is normal. But instead of saying, oh, okay, well, this isn't quite right, let's sit down and talk about the stress in your life. What food are you eating? How are you relaxing? What's happening from a lifestyle epigenetic point of view? We don't do that. We go, oh, look at that. Here's a pill.
Yeah.
And that pill doesn't make anybody feel any better because it's not working on the underlying problem or the underlying cause. And the cause is the stress. And what we're not building into, this, especially this generation, the younger 30-year-old generation, or women climbing that corporate ladder at the moment, we're not bringing the the art of being able to breathe and take a moment and allow that cortisol to come back down. And we're not honoring enough of ourselves and the body when it's whispering to us. We're not doing that. We're not feeding it properly to allow it to cope with all of these stresses. It's too easy to go for the convenient, I'm so stressed today, I just need someone else to cook for me, therefore I'm going to stop and get takeaway on the way home.
Yeah.
I'm so cooked, I'm just going to get Uber Eats, or I'm just going to get all of, I'm just going to do, and potentially it's the healthy option, but there's nothing healthy about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of coming home and then looking at the art of cooking, the art of preparing our meal as time to relax and to breathe and to talk as a family and to be in the kitchen, or everybody helping and all of these sorts of things, we're still on the go and we still bring it in. And this is what we need to stop.
Yeah. But I ask a question, can I pose a question that if people aren't present, like I talk to someone and I'll go, what's the last 2 years look like with you? And they say, I can't really tell you. I've just been on this treadmill, so I don't really know what my triggers were. I don't know what really happened. I didn't have clarity. Not sure what my husband thinks. Like there's just no, as to that you called brain fog before. So that presence, I think, is important.
Yeah,
because
there's hugely important. Mindfulness.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be a tip for people to actually have some sort of strategies to get that mindfulness every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Just 3 to 5 heavy, deep breathing, every hour whilst you're at work. Just take a moment, close your eyes, allow the cortisol to come back down. You are not in survival mode. It might feel like survival mode, but you're not. Now, the problem is that you are then disrupting your gut microbiome. And in the presence of cortisol and the side effect being inflammation, the gut microbiome go to sleep. So they don't function properly. If they're not functioning properly, ultimately, nor are you. So now we're getting constipation, we're getting diarrhea, we're getting pains, we're getting ulcerative colitis, we're getting Crohn's, we're getting everything to do with the gut. So what we need to do is actually take a deep breath and allow ourselves to settle. And then also go, what am I feeding myself to cope with this? What foods am I putting into my body to be able to cope with this? And sugar is not the answer.
Yeah. And I think you shared with me, because I've got Crohn's, and I think you gave me some great advice when we chatted last week or the week before, and that's around diet. And how important that is. And I think it was really getting out some of the foods that don't support that. I have been looking for that ancient grain oat sourdough. So I've got our health food store ordering it in for me. So thank you. But the diet you're talking about, some of the foods there that aren't good for you.
So gluten is probably the biggest thing, especially if you're looking at any form of autoimmune condition, because if you think about gluten as being the trigger to the gun, right? You're loading the gun, if you like. This is a better way of doing it. You're loading the gun with the gluten, when you're eating gluten. And then it'll be the epigenetics. So your stressful environment, your work environment, your home environment, your cortisol levels, that actually does the firing.
Yeah.
Now, with what it also does as far as gluten is concerned is it opens the tight gap junctions. And if it opens the tight gap junctions within the gut itself, you are then getting inflammation in the gut, and now you're getting a heightened immune system, and that is the beginning of all autoimmune conditions.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're looking at any form, and if you've got autoimmunity within the family, if you've got Hashimoto's, if you've got Graves', if you've got MS or any rheumatoid arthritis, any of these autoimmune conditions, you have to be super duper careful, because we are all kind of gluten intolerant, because no one has the enzymes to break it down anyway. Yeah. So we're all getting this, but what you need to be able to do is allow your body to not be stressed and put it all back together again. Yeah. So it's really important to take out the gluten. It's really important where I sit, the more plant-based you are, the more plant-strong you are. So the diet that I teach people is taking them right back to basics, and we're cleaning up the gut microbiome, we're cleaning up the liver, and we're cleaning up everything. And then that feeds up, you've got a healthy gut microbiome, then you're going to get lots of serotonin, and then that's going to feed up into the brain, and your mood's going to lift. And so basically I put everybody on a potato diet. Excellent and wonderful. And it works. And so, you're looking at all of those sorts of it. And then we want you to, so the more plant strong you are, the better it is, because that's where all your phytonutrients are. So with this stress, and you're getting inflammation, think about inflammation as fire. So you get this body full of this chronic, systemic, low-grade inflammation around your body. You need something to quell it. You need something to put it out. And what puts it out is phytonutrients. So you're looking at, lots of antioxidants.
Yeah.
So the more antioxidants you've got on board, the more you can put it out. Now, where do antioxidants live? They live in vegetables and fruits. You don't find them in meat or dairy.
Yeah.
So the less of those in your diet, the better you are. So you can then try and build up your antioxidant, anti-inflammatory systems to be able to cope with all of your inflammatory systems. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And I think what I'm hearing overall, which I'm so grateful that I knew there'd be so much value in this interview, and this will go out to women, and you can be a busy corporate woman, and it's just because we need women leaders, because they're style leadership. We need that in boardrooms. We need that running businesses. And I see a groundswell happening, but at the same time, you've got to have that support. You've got to have that foundation of good diet, understanding your triggers, understanding your stress, because as they're going down that pathway and then getting sick, at the end of the day, people are just going to go, well, there's another one burnt out, whether it's a male or female. They work too hard. And off you go.
Yeah, happens to men as well. Exactly the same thing. So men burn out and off they go, and then they're just replaced.
Yes.
We can just be replaced. But once you start looking after yourself from a dietary perspective, that epigenetic, that right down to the root cause. Once you start doing that, your energy levels come up, your happiness levels come up, your sleeping levels are better, you're sleeping better, you're eating better, you've got the energy to exercise. So when you put all that together, then it's easy to be at work.
Yes.
And that's what we want. But if you don't do that, if work is everything and it's not easy to be at work because you feel not quite right, then, this is a problem. And when there's another term for not quite right, and that is I feel crappy, right? So crap is a technical term because it stands for calorie rich and processed.
Oh, okay.
And we eat crap all the time, right? Especially when we're stressed. We go down the road of calorie rich and processed.
Yeah.
So, the chocolate biscuits and all of these sorts of things. And the crap that we eat makes us feel crappy.
Makes us feel worse, yeah.
When we feel worse, we are not going to be the best leader we possibly can because we don't feel well.
Yeah.
I see lots of young women with endometriosis. I can't believe it's almost an epidemic. Far worse than coronavirus. So, but we're seeing it all the time with these young women with endometriosis. And so that's 2 weeks in every month that they're not feeling well.
Yeah.
How can you be a leader and do that, right?
Yeah.
So if we can make you feel well from an endometriosis point of view and show you how to eat better and show you how to be a better leader, and we work on the psychology of change, which then you can put through to everything, life becomes happy.
Yeah. And that's where I talk with a lot of clients and I go, what will bring you joy? And a lot can't answer that. Because as you said before, you're just caught in this treadmill. You're just caught in this life that even though it's stressful, it is your life.
Yes.
And you understand what it is. So you're going, well, that's I have an acceptance, and people shouldn't accept.
No, you shouldn't accept anything that's less than.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And we will be less than, because the other thing that does with stress, and I think I said this before at the beginning, is that once you're highly stressed, our management of self goes down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can't manage yourself, then that becomes even more stressful.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very vicious cycle, but I know from the patients that I see, I know from the women that I help, that once they start feeling better, every aspect of their life becomes easier.
Yes. Yep.
So work becomes fun. Everything, they have the energy to exercise. Once they start losing weight, and my body is working again, it's like, oh, hello, I now feel like I did when I was 10 years younger.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's good.
That sounds really good, to be honest. And I thought, because I interview a lot of women that have been there, done that, and had different sort of gone down pathways and burnout, whatnot, but I've never had someone come on and really delve deeper into some of the issues that they're going to face. And we can call it whatever, but you've been, as I said, so truthful and added so much value for young women to look at that and go, well, I'm going to take ownership of this because I do want to create change. I want to be the best person that I can be, and I just need a bit of help. And you've provided that. So I'm going to change some things as well. so thank you for that.
Look, we all need to change
Exactly.
it, and none of us are absolutely perfection.
Yeah.
And it's, as I say to everybody, it ends up, so once you've done the work and you've got your health back again, it kind of ends up as the 80-20 rule, because no one's ever perfect.
Yeah.
But at least then you have a very good understanding that when I do eat that, it's going to make me feel like that. So you don't wake up on Saturday morning or Sunday morning going, why don't I feel well? You go, oh, I don't feel well because
Exactly.
I overindulged last night, which was a bit naughty, but I can get myself back on track. And then, I actually have a client who does this, who's doing this. She's now been doing my program, which is called the KIT Healing Program. And the KIT program stands for Knowledge, Implementation and Transformation.
Yeah.
And it's the knowledge that I teach people. So it's so good with her, because she's got a very high powered job in government. So she's a very high powered job. But she was waking up every day dragging her body out of bed.
Yeah.
And then when we sat down and said, well, what did you eat the night before? What are you doing? Well, how are you coping with your stress? What are these things? Nowadays, she just can't believe the difference within how she wakes up in the morning bright and light. She's ready to get up and to start her day, and she has the energy. So work is nowhere near as stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the change. That's the transformation that you're after.
That's the transformation you're after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you implement it, you need the knowledge, you need to be then to implement it, which is where we do the psychology of change. Yeah. And then we go into transformation, and then it's just a matter of keeping it going. It's a lot of fun.
So thank you again for being a part of this. As I said, I'll share this and get that out to the community and to some other groups. But I'm very grateful, as I said, for your knowledge. Your knowledge, but your passion as well, and transformation. It's easy to say, but you're living it. So thank you for that.
I try to live it every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Not all the time successful, but hey.
Keep up the good work, and thank you for the interview. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and skills and passion. Thank you.